welcome to Day 2. We're kicking off today with a Repurposed journalist shares his keys to success with Brad Good. Introducing this keynote is Dean of the Edward R. Murrow College of Communication, Dr. Bruce Pinkleton. During his time at WSU, Dr. Pinkleton has served as head of the Strategic Communication degree program, helping grow the unit into the largest in the Murrow College. His research on health promotion, media literacy, and public affairs decision-making in the digital era has been funded by the National Institutes for Health, the Robert Wood Johnson Foundation, ABMRF, the Foundation for Alcohol Research, the Washington State Department of Health, and other organizations. Dr. Pinkleton's work has been published in Tier 1 journals in communication, health communication, and public health. As Dean, Dr. Pinkleton has established key areas of strategic emphasis for the Murrow College. These areas of emphasis are fostering student success, building collaborative partnerships, advancing excellence in research, and strengthening the internal foundation of the Murrow College. Please welcome Dr. Bruce Pinkleton.
All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for being here today, Day 2. And I appreciate the terrific attendance we have. Sometimes there's a little bit of a slowdown, but it looks like we're back in full strength. So I appreciate that very much. Really excited about today. We have another full day of speakers and panels and events. We're going to end the symposium today with a tribute to Bill Moreland, a reporter with the Spokesman Review, who did a lot of work addressing issues of race and Ku Klux Klan and white supremacy in the Inland Northwest as a reporter. Really, really interesting individual. And that will be here starting at noon, if I'm not mistaken. But today we have a good day starting. We have Brad Good, in fact, who's joining us. Yeah, I was going to say it's a great day, Brad, but that doesn't quite match with your name so well. So we're just going to say with good. So we're going to have a good day with Brad Good. So let me introduce Brad just for a few moments. And Ash, I know I'm way off the teleprompter comments, so let's not even bother to try, okay? All right. So Brad is a veteran award-winning broadcaster with more than 30 years of experience. He looks so young. I think he must have started when he was 5, perhaps, or 6. So I think he's a prodigy on top of everything else. He's currently Chief Marketing and Communications Officer for Washington Federal Bank, or what you probably know as WaFd. Among his duties, Brad's responsible for the marketing relationships with the Seattle Kraken. And I have to say we have some big Seattle Kraken fans in our family. Yeah, we didn't even really grow up with hockey at all, but for some reason it's really launched in. And then the Seattle Sounders as well. Brad keeps his broadcast skills sharp with his Good for Business broadcasts, which are on Como TV and Como Radio. Before joining WaFd Bank, Brad had a national broadcast career anchoring and reporting CNBC in New York and Los Angeles. And he hosted Extra, remember Extra? Yes, in Los Angeles. And also a nightly news show on Fox Sports. In the past 15 years, Brad has developed a passion for fundraising and is a highly sought-after charity benefit auctioneer and consultant. He's raised tens of millions of dollars for great organizations on the West Coast. And I should say also a special shout out and thank you to WaFd Bank for their sponsorship of Symposium and their keynote speaker series. So with that, join me in welcoming Brad to the stage.
Thank you, Dean. Appreciate that. And a fellow Spartan, go green. Okay, see, he's got that down. Okay, very good. Yeah, nice to be here. Everybody awake? Ready to roll? Okay, very good. I see more people are congregated by the coffee. Wow, I mean, to be here at Washington State and to be looking out onto Martin Stadium, can we get started? Can we get a Go Cougs on 3? 3, 2, 1, go Cougs. Okay, now I feel like I'm on a college campus. Awesome. I have to tell you guys, it's more than a distinct pleasure to be here to talk comms with comm students. It's hard to believe that this is my first visit to Washington State University. I've been in the Seattle area since 1999. I am married to a proud Coug, so I'm a Coug by proxy. And she is a graduate of the Murrow School of Communications, and it has served her very, very well. The great mayor of Pullman and former professor here, you all know Glenn Johnson, is her hero. I don't know if Glenn's here, but wow, Glenn really helped her launch her career, and she's very grateful, and she's done very well with her career that started here. So you should all feel very fortunate that you are at this school and at this program. There are a lot of universities around the country that don't put the investment into a comms school that Washington State does. So enjoy it. Wow, I mean, you're in college. How cool is that? It's great. So I was asked this morning to speak about transitioning from a 32-year communications journalism career in broadcasting to a corporate marketing and comms job. You know, nothing makes you feel quite so vintage than when somebody calls and asks, hey, can you share what it was all about for 30 years? When I try to think about it and get my arms around that, I can tell you it's been a hell of a ride. Although there's some weird things that happen. After wearing makeup on the job for 32 years, sometimes now I feel a little naked without the makeup. It's been a long, successful career. I think that started, I was a reporter in Lansing, Michigan, after I graduated from Michigan State with my degree in broadcast journalism from their comm school. And then that led to me reporting and anchoring jobs in Toledo, Ohio, Salt Lake City, Minneapolis, then to Los Angeles with CBS News, covering big stories like the O.J. Simpson trial, the Northridge earthquake, which I actually won an award for some of my coverage there I was proud of. Big stories every day, just being in the thick of it. And it reminds me something that Dean Baquet said last night. I hope you all got a chance to hear him, where he said, go to small markets, move around, go to places where maybe you're a little uncomfortable. And he's absolutely right. That was my path, working small market to small market in places of the country that I'd never been, didn't know anything about. And you dive in and you learn about people and you learn to tell their stories. He's absolutely right. Gosh, I could so relate to what he was saying. So then after my time at CBS 2 there in Los Angeles, I had an opportunity. I was hired to host Extra, as Bruce just shared with you, and that was sort of a bizarre turn, but another opportunity where I'm interviewing movie stars, celebrities, pop culture icons every single day. And I found that was not my niche. There was not enough meat to that. And I would often get reprimanded by the movie stars' PR people on the red carpet because I would not just ask them, what are you wearing? Oh, you look fabulous. And I was like, that's not what I do. I'm a news guy. So sometimes I think when they took me off the anchor desk to go report on Hollywood movie stars, I ruffled some feathers. What I did is I researched the movie stars about their movies and about their roles, and I would ask them questions about the role and what they thought they brought to the role. And sometimes on the red carpet, I heard John Travolta saying to me, I wasn't quite ready for that. So I thought, well, good, I'm doing my job. But again, trying to look at it as a journalist and a news person, because that's what I was doing. And so I'm hoping that I brought a different perspective to the broadcast other than what you saw in a lot of the other Hollywood shows that are out there, which there are, in my opinion, too many. Then I had a weird opportunity to join all sports anchors from around the country, about 12 of them, to launch Fox Sports News on the Fox Sports Network there in Los Angeles. I was the only non-traditional sports anchor that they brought in from different markets, working with the likes of Keith Olbermann and Chris Myers and Kevin Frazier, who I believe hosts Entertainment Tonight now, and a variety of other guys. And the executive producer said, look, you've done live news and sports and entertainment your whole life. You can do this, and we need someone that really understands how to do a show. So that was fun. So I did that in LA for a couple of years, but I found that was not my thing. Every place I worked, I would gravitate toward business news. That's what I enjoyed. And I just thought that business news was so interesting because when I was going to school at Michigan State, I had a couple professors tell me, and at an internship at CBS in Detroit, they said everything in news has to do with politics and economics. And you got to have an understanding of that, which is why I double majored in political science, if I had to do all over again, I just would have gotten a degree in economics, because that's how the world works. Everything is about economics. And if I can pitch a book that everybody should read, you should all read Freakonomics. If you've heard about that book, it's been out now for about, 12, 14 years. But it really sets the stage of how really, when you dig down as a reporter, or you're in the field of communications, how things work. Anyway, I'm kind of sidetracking on that a little bit, but found my true love, business news. And so I moved to New York City to host the show called Wake Up Call. It was a 2-hour show from our studio in Times Square. They broadcast it up on the Jumbotron at Times Square right before the Today Show. That was pretty cool. And then my wife and I decided, we really wanted to move back to the Northwest. There was an opportunity to go to King 5 TV there in Seattle and anchor the morning show. So I did that. And then after that, I really wanted to create a business show. King didn't want it. So I went over to Como TV and started a business segment and also anchored the morning show. So I just sort of blew you through 32 years of kind of what was happening to me there. But, I can tell you, these were network jobs. They paid very well. They came with a lot of perks, clothes, tickets to any event I wanted. I had to pinch myself. One day, I'm down in New Orleans at the Super Bowl, and I'm in the hotel room with Brett Favre, the Green Bay quarterback, and his wife the day before the Super Bowl, and I'm interviewing them, and both of them were telling me they weren't sure which one of them was going to throw up first, because of the nerves. The access was incredible. That's just one of many examples that I can share. But you all have the unique opportunity to be in that world, to be around people. So get used to being around all kinds of people, and don't be afraid to engage with them. Don't be afraid to ask them questions. Maybe even sometimes questions that are maybe a little difficult, maybe a little dicey. There's plenty of controversy in the world today, and I know there's plenty to talk about. You can't be afraid of it. I think what we're talking about here, wow, what Edward R. Murrow led the way. Talk about courage. So embrace that. And even if it feels a little scary, embrace it. So anyway, all of that, and now I'm at a bank. How the hell did that happen? I remember when I left the anchor desk at Como TV 7 years ago, I had numerous friends in broadcasting and PR call me up and said, what are you doing? How do you transition from broadcasting to banking? How is that going to work, marketing a bank? Is that like trying to promote Mondays? They thought I was crazy, and why would you leave TV news? Well, I'll tell you why. I felt like I needed a new challenge that for me was purpose-driven. I felt like I had a great broadcast career that took me all over the country with great experiences, but I felt like I needed more. I felt like I wanted to be a part of building something with my communication skill set instead of covering what others had created. So how did I end up at WaFd Bank? Well, I was yearning for something more, as I mentioned, so I started by attacking my goal like a journalist, like what I had learned in comm school and through a 32-year career. I pulled out my contact list, and I went to lunch or coffee with many CEOs and executive leaders that I'd come to know over the years, and I interviewed them. I asked them a lot of questions. I sat down with Alaska Airlines, Zillow, Tommy Bahama, Holland America Cruise Line, Amazon, WaFd Bank, and many others. Now, I'd gotten to the point in my career where I had the opportunity, because I'd covered so much business news, that yes, I was able to call them and they would take my call. They knew me, I interviewed them. I'd been able to get to that point. But all the same, it took my initiative. Because most people, when you're at that anchor level in news, they think you're fine, you're cooking on your career. So I had to get in front of people and let them know, I'm looking for a change. I want to do something else. And so, that caught a lot of them off guard. So what I did is, as a reporter would do, I went in to look, I tried to identify a need that company had. So obviously I did some research on these companies. I knew something about them already with my business segments that I had done. And this is where it really pays off to listen. which is something else that we should really talk about communicating, right? I mean, you've heard the old adage, right? We have one mouth and two ears. And my wife will tell you I'm certainly guilty of not using the ears as much as I should. In fact, my wife says, and you're talking about many, my wife says you have to take the good with the Brad on many occasions. God bless her. So asking questions, listening, thinking on your feet. And I want to give an example where I was reacting in the moment. So I'm on like my 6th interview at this bank. And I'm thinking, how many times do you have to interview before you either get the job or they tell you, good, get out, they're not what we need. And the CEO was very proud. He said, I started a video that I create and we put it out on our intranet. And I said, oh, great, Roy, let me see that. So he put it up and it was called From the Bridge, and he just sort of talked into the camera, very conservative banker, and he just talked to everybody for 6 or 7 minutes. And I'm watching this going, oh, this is painful. And he said, I was thinking that maybe, I said, yes, please give that to me. That is something I would like to do. And so I created a video called What's Up at WaFed that includes movie clips, sound effects, shout outs, crazy stuff in about a 6 or 7 minute video, and I'll show you some examples of it in just a minute, to really engage with our colleagues, 2,000 of them in 8 states. We're a regional bank based in Seattle, but we are in every state on the West Coast except California. And I thought, wow, what a cool, so the light bulb went off on me. See, here's another opportunity as a communications major, as a journalist, to have an immediate impact. So think about that in the workforce, wherever you go. Look for those places where your skills, your storytelling, we'll talk a little bit more about storytelling in a minute, how that can really pay off. It's a real need. And then one of the craziest stories is I was being offered the job then. I think this is on interview number 7 or 8 now. I was like, wow, I don't know if this is going to happen. This is a lot different than the broadcast world. You know, they look at your tape, you come in for an interview. If they flew you in for the interview, they're pretty serious about you, and you find out the next day, and then your agent starts negotiating, and you settle on the deal. So I'm sitting there, and the CEO said, well, I wrote your job description. I was like, wow, this is interesting. So as he's talking to me, I'm trying to scan down these 10 bullet points. At the bottom of my job description, it said, elevate the fun. And I said, well, I can do that day 1 if you let me. But again, it showed me that industry people are looking to those of us with a communications background, communication skills, to also make it fun. I say to my team all the time, banking does not have to be boring. I know that we're not PR or comms for the iPhone, which, wow, that's a pretty sexy job, right? That's pretty cool. We take in deposits and we push out loans into our communities. And while that doesn't sound very sexy, if it's your first house or your second house that you've grown with your family and your kids, that's pretty damn important. And that's where it can be fun. How can we make this fun and important? Banking's a noble profession, right? Lending out credit, as most people know, making an investment in your home is probably one of the biggest investments, if not the biggest investment you'll ever make in your life. And that's where it's important, but it doesn't have to be boring. It can be exciting and fun. Anyway, so as he said, elevate the fun, 3 days later on Halloween, I came into the bank in full Batman regalia and delivered him his coffee. He was a little freaked out, and then I thought, wow, probably wearing a full mask into a bank is not a great idea. But I went for it. And it also told me that, you can't be afraid to unleash your creativity and your personality. Have a personality. Find it, work on it, have a personality. People, I'm telling you, the workplace thirsts for it. Employees want it. And I said, great, I was ready to deliver. And I think that's something that communication grads should deliver on as well. It doesn't mean you're a spaz. You don't always have to show up as Batman. I just did that once. I just wanted to see how much I could kind of push this bank CEO, very conservative bank CEO. Because I said, I might get fired in a few months. You might not like what I'm going to do, but I had to come in with enough confidence that I could handle certain things that we had discussed, and they were either going to love it or hate it. And as I'll share in a minute here on my PowerPoint here, I can't believe I get away with half the stuff they let me do. Because they trust me, and that trust has to be developed, and that takes courage on both sides. But this highlights that career transitioning takes courage, faith in yourself, and the skills that you are now developing in your classes, and on some of these amazing projects back here, by the way. Nice job. Nice work. I got a chance to go back and read up on, gosh, at least half of those. We didn't have that at Michigan State. That's awesome. Good for you guys. So develop that career set, those presentations, learning, everything that you do in communications, because I have to tell you, it's more valuable than you think to the corporate world. You just have to learn the importance of those skills and how they will benefit the corporate world and have fun. Our new CEO, who was there when I was hired, who gave the thumbs down on me being hired, and now we're best friends, and I travel with him all the time and run investor relations for him. He says all the time to all of us at the bank, love what you do and make a difference. And he's absolutely right. That's what you should strive for. If you don't love what you're doing, do something else. Don't plow through and be miserable. And if you love what you do, you will make a difference. It is pretty powerful. So, all right, students, let's do a little exercise here. I want everybody to write down. I guess you don't write anymore, right? You put everything on your phone. By the way, all that career stuff I did, none of that's on Instagram. Sorry, but it did happen. I know you 20-somethings. So it's not on Instagram. It must not happen. It happened. But I would like, if you guys, students, just kind of write down for me, if you will, write down 2 skills you're learning besides writing in the Murrow College. Skills that you see as critical for your career success, in addition to writing clearly. All right? 2 skills you see as critical for your career success. Okay. Don't be shy. Let's start in the front here. You're still writing. Okay, good. Quick. Yes, you.
Public speaking.
Okay. Public speaking. Absolutely. Very good. That's a good one. Anybody else with some? Grace.
Learning to use the Adobe products.
Okay. Yeah, right. So kind of augmenting communication with good graphics, good design. You can judge my PowerPoint here in a minute. For all the media work I've done, some of it's not so good. And don't waste your time making bad visual aids. That's just like a rule. Yeah, you in the back? Opportunities for what? Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's, skill set, that you're not going to learn that in school. You're going to have to push yourself on that, right? Knowing what your comfort zone is and how to be out of that comfort zone. Yeah, you, young man. Yeah, well, confidence in everything, yeah, for sure. What about like skill sets in communication? Anybody with something I can throw in there? Yep. Storytelling. There we go, storytelling. That's like the buzzword of the decade, I swear, and we're going to talk about that in a minute, because that's been over-abused, and people think they're storytellers. They're not. But a lot of you are and will be, but don't be fooled by that. Oh, storytelling, yeah. And they've never done it. Anybody else? Okay, all right. Yes, young lady?
Journalistic integrity.
How about that? Journalistic integrity. That is a great one. Round of applause for that. This is interesting because I'm looking for me, I was looking for more like hard skills. And what I like about you guys are thinking even bigger. You're thinking things that are more like what you need to develop. I think that's great. Yeah, integrity, it's huge. There seems to be a lack of it these days. Here's my list, if you want to write these down. And they dovetail with some of you. Speaking effectively, okay? And that takes practice. That doesn't just happen. Listening for what's important. Again, that listening skill. Okay? Listening, questioning, asking again. How about generating creative ideas? You're the communication people. They are going to look to you. They are going to expect ideas from you. When you're in a meeting, you better not be sitting on your hands. You better come to the meeting with some ideas, some thoughts, right? It's that way in the newsroom, and it's that way in the corporate world as well. A couple of others here, thinking on your feet, building consensus toward common goals. Do you know how to build consensus? Do you know how to get in a room with a team of people that you only know a little bit from work, and you've got to come up with a plan, a proposal, a project, a campaign, right? How about challenging the status quo to make things better? A lot of times that falls on the comms department. Or when it comes from the executive office, you have to sell it. You have to tell it. Critical, okay? I think those are some of the skills you should possess. They don't necessarily get those in accounting and engineering. That's what you get. Not to disparage them. We need accountants and engineers. But you can't get anywhere if you can't tell the story or convince customers to believe in the company and its products. So I can tell you that without a doubt, corporate America needs talented people like you all that can tell the inside culture story and promote it. So external comms and marketing are obviously mission critical. But what I've learned that I want to talk a little bit more about is what often makes the biggest difference is building a strong corporate culture through communication. Internal comms for companies right now, they are desperate for the right people who can take their story and their values internally and then far and wide. Quite often a company's culture, I've discovered, the company's culture very much translates into business success. Comms people need to develop it, nurture it, and spread the word. That's where some of your storytelling comes in. That's where your communications comes in, whether it's video, whether it's something you produce on the internet, whether it's graphics, whether it's a press release, you name it, whether it's an internal memo, whether it's a video, all those types of deals. So let's see here. I'm not sure how I'm doing on time, Christy, but because I get a little carried away. But let's dig into this a little bit. I'm sure some of you are saying, okay, Brad, you're throwing a lot at us here. Show us some examples. So I'm going to take over the PowerPoint here and show you guys a few examples, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So again, kind of these are the things I've already told you, right? Banking doesn't have to be boring. Whatever you're in, it doesn't have to be boring. That's up to you to take initiative so it's not boring. Don't be afraid to bring the fun. I think I've showed examples, and I'll show more examples. It's okay to have fun in the workplace. It makes the day and the career a lot better. And absolutely bring the creativity, right? I mean, that's on comms people. It's expected, right? You're going into PR, whatever it is, they're expecting creativity. So when we talk about internal communications, right, it's that information sharing within your company, with your colleagues. That is culture building. And you hear people talk a lot about that these days, developing the culture. What is the culture of the company? Why is the culture so important for career retention, job retention, all these things? And then, of course, brand building. If you can't build the brand inside the company, how are you ever going to sell it on the outside? It's got to be built and developed and owned on the inside of the company before the general public's going to ever buy it. And you're going to have to hit them hard over and over and over again. All PR people will tell you that. So this is an example. This is the video that I took from the former CEO where he just talked into the camera. And I'm not going to play the video for you, but it's called What's Up at WaFd. I think I've done about 250 of these now at the bank. Mostly every Friday, these get delivered into our intranet on our front page. Like I said, so here's a top left is our CEO on KVI Radio in Seattle doing a lengthy interview. Bottom left, that's one of our branches, our colleagues all dressed up for St. Patrick's Day. And we had a large pig wander onto the property of our Everett, Washington branch, and somebody snapped a picture, and I said, oh, I can have fun with that. So just an example of sharing the news, the journalism of the bank, okay, and sharing it with everybody so that they will indulge, right? They will take part. This is me interviewing our CEO, Brent Beardall, when we just announced our merger acquisition of a California bank. It's a big deal. We've never been in the state of California. It's underway right now. Speaking of dealing with the CEO and the C-suite, comms people, you got to be comfortable with that. I insist that our team, we're on the second floor right in the C-suite. So I'm 2 offices down from the CEO, and all the executive team were right there. And my team's right. Why? Because we need to be readily available for whenever anything's happening. Campaigns are being launched. There's a problem. It's a good thing I've gotten to know the CEO very well because he nearly died in a fatal plane crash January 2nd on his way to the Rose Bowl. The pilot, friend, client of the bank was sitting right next to him, died immediately in the crash at the Provo airport. I'm driving home from a ski trip January 2nd with my family, and my boss calls me and she says, Brent's been in a plane crash. He's been dropped off at the trauma hospital in Provo, Utah. He's in shock. His body is shattered. He's lost a lot of blood. Nobody knows if he's going to make it. So as I'm driving home from my vacation, I have to move into crisis comms mode because we don't know what's going to happen. All we know is he's going to go into surgery for 9 hours for them to rebuild part of his head and most of his lower body. So that's when your communication skills really need to kick in and you rely on them. So I pulled over immediately, and my wife starts driving back from Idaho back to Bellevue, Washington, and I start putting together communication points, and I had to write 3 press releases that might have to go out the next day. You can imagine what one of those press releases was going to say. It's tough. You got to be able to react like that. Thankfully, that did not happen, but he was out of the mix for 3 months. So I went to Utah when he was in rehab, brought my video camera, videotaped him, went to rehab with him. And the bank, my colleagues, could not get enough of that. They were so thrilled that he survived, and he's such a great man. And I'd pour this onto our internet, and it'd be gobbled up. We'd have, 500 views a day. I also kick out anniversaries. I just show you some examples so you guys know what I'm talking about here. Now, sometimes you lose a bet at the bank. We have a lot of people, and our CEO, Brent, lost a bet. So that's our chief risk officer. He doused him with water on the roof of the bank there at 5th and Pike. Again, having the fun, bringing the fun, videotaping it, and making it part of daily work. But you as the comms people have to lead that. The accountants and the people in finance and the engineers are not going to lead that. That's not their skill set. That's your skill set, right? So we have a lot of fun there. Another thing I developed to build internal comms and retention is a segment I decided to call Why WaFed. So I go around our 8-state footprint and I interview people of different positions and ask them, why did you come to WaFed? Why have you been here this long? What are your roles and what roles have you moved to? And how do you see this as a career path? This has been striking gold for the bank. As you can imagine, a lot of people will say, oh, yeah, I want to go work for a bank, or I'm going to build a career at a bank. Finance people say that. But when you really talk to people and they share with you, what do you think they talk about when I ask them why WaFed? They talk about the culture. Not really so much about loan ops and opening checking accounts and how many deposits we brought in last month. No, they talk about what they love about being at WaFed, how they're heard, how their team goes out and helps in the community, helps build a home for Habitat for Humanity, went to the local food bank and packed peanut butter sandwiches for 6 hours for people in their community with a lot less than they have. That is the heart and soul of a company that you, as the communicators, must tell. If you do that, you have a happy workforce that works hard, that can't wait to sell the story because they're proud of where they work. Internal comms, I had no idea it is that huge. It is huge. And there are positions specifically for that. So here's another example. Here's our whole team. They're in their fun green t-shirts, and look how happy they are. And they're at this food bank serving food, and then they've got their Making a Difference t-shirts on. Think about blending the messages that your leadership talks about to the workforce, right? That's an example right there of that I said that's what we got to have. All right, let's talk a little bit about marketing now, because that is a huge part of the job. How do you bring an idea to life as a comms person, and you're in the comms marketing department, say, that they kind of, there's a lot of blend over between marketing and communications, right? They're kind of one and the same, if you will. Yeah, you come up with an idea how to market it, but how to market it is through communication. So I was charged with starting a new checking product. Okay, Brad, we got a new checking product called Green Checking, and you need to market the doodle out of it. And it comes with a bunch of benefits, but it's $6 a month, and that's hard because most people would just want free checking. So what do we do with this? So I said, okay, so it comes with a bunch of benefits. We need some type of a fun hook to get just people engaged. So I went to our production company that we work with in Seattle that I've worked with for years. Again, these are relationships built over the past. And I said, guys, I want to create, I think, a thing, like a mascot or something to sell this. Does anyone remember the campaign out of Australia, Dumb Ways to Die? It was famous about 10 years ago. You guys were all kids and your parents wouldn't let you watch it. It was brutally violent. But it was a very funny way to tell a very serious story. And I said, I kind of want it to be like Dumb Ways to Die meets a video game, meets a fun, playful, engaging commercial. So what we did is we created WaFd Walt the Vault. And so I said, let's come up with something, because a bank is very strong and sturdy and holds onto your money in that vault, right? So let's make a character. Let's make WaFd Walt the Vault. And let's create some fun cartoon commercials around that. And so that's what we did. So then I said, well, you know, we don't have a piggy bank at the bank, or banks would give out a piggy bank. I said, well, why don't we make a Walt bank? Why don't we have a lot more fun with this, and let's make our own bank? So there's WaFd Walt. Again, not ideas I thought the bank CEO was going to adopt day one when I came in there. Seeing the little vault comes off, and that's where the money comes out, money goes in. So I ordered 70,000 of these from China. I don't think they're toxic. Anyway, so these came in. You should have a Walt the Vault. There you go. You take one home. Open an account. I got to give a shameless plug. Come on. So anyway, these are part of campaigns now that have been going on for the last 4 to 4.5 years. And you want to have fun communicating a boring product, tie it to something that's fun and engaging. Here's an example right here. Take me home, your very own Walt Bank, and now we just said any checking account that's open, not just green checking, you get one of these. Well, when parents go in with their kids and they see these all over the branch, they're like, what is that? Well, hey, and it helps them save and also helps us teach financial literacy, the importance of saving, et cetera, right? Okay, so then I decided, well, let's just make a big mascot suit out of them. Let's keep pushing this, and let's take it even further, right? So we went through this company in London and overseas, and I said, I want this to be huge. I mean, it's got to be big. So this is the WaFd Walt the Vault mascot that we now have one of these built for all of our states because we couldn't keep him at corporate. So he's used at every event, every parade, and I'll show you some picture. And so that's me and him skating at the Kirkland Community Iceplex in Seattle. Yes, now I'm a mascot. What the hell did happen in my career? Anyway, as I said, you know, anything I ask my team to do, I will do. And so, yes, I wear the mascot suit. Why? It's fun. It's engaging. So that's just another example where we've taken that. And when this first came into the bank and I put it on, and our CEO's admin just was... She's very concerned. I called her the church lady. And she was crying. I thought she was going to wet herself. And she's like, I can't believe you're doing that. And I walked right into the executive management committee meeting with the CEO and the leadership with this on. And that's when I thought, I'm either going to get fired or they'll go, okay, Brad's up to another crazy idea. This thing has just taken off. Why? Because it's another way to engage with people. Oh, and by the way, it's your bank. So it's just been crazy fun, and now these are what some of the branches do, right? This probably was here last week, you know? I mean, they put him out in the snow and send me pictures. They dress him up for holidays. There he is in the suit on the back of a, you know, he's in a parade, right? Just different things, and then you push that as a team out and engage with your other colleagues to get them involved. This is a campaign we just launched about a month ago to get more Google reviews at our branches because we know how critical those are. And so, of course, there's Walt. He's almost in everything. Then we took it a step further because we are the bank of the Seattle Sounders as well as the Kraken, or the exclusive bank. I was looking for a player that I could wrap stories around. I said, well, we talk about saving and Walt saves. And so I thought, well, let's see if we can hook up with the goalkeeper. Goalkeepers save, so why don't we save? So I got a hold of Stephen Fry. I don't know if any of you follow soccer, the Sounders. Okay, Stephen Fry, #1 goalkeeper in MLS. The guy's unbelievable. So I went to him and I said, look, I want to start creating some commercials with you. So we've done a series of 4 or 5 commercials with him, a couple of them with Walt the Vault. And so we had Stephen Fry reaching out, making saves, and the virtual Walt would sweep in and save the ball first, to the point where Stephen Fry felt dejected. because he was being outsaved by Walt Duvall. Very fun, and this one at the end, Walt sort of stiff arms him right out of the shot in the commercial. Again, taking that to that next level of creativity, of communicating on different platforms, whether it's collateral in the branch, whether it's a video, or whether it's the mascot at a parade or at a Chamber of Commerce event or on television. You got to make sure you fulfill the platforms, right, with these creative ideas. All right, quickly now on branding, because I want to get to your questions here. The importance of it, communicating a new brand. The bank, when I got to the bank, we were 100 years, we were turning 100. And on my second day, I went into the executive team and I said, we're turning 100 in 6 months. So what's the plan? And they all just stared at me. There were these blank stares. They were like, there's no plan. We were waiting for you to get here. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. So went to work. We started as Ballard Savings and Loan Lease, but for decades we were Washington Federal. We violated Marketing 101. We didn't tell anybody what we are or what we do. So I said, you guys, we got to get bank in the name. There's a lot of confusion around Washington Federal. What is Washington Federal? So we started doing focus groups in 5 of our 8 states and research. People were confused. They thought it was a government agency. They thought maybe it was a Social Security office. They thought it was a credit union. They thought it was a company based in Washington, D.C. Some even thought it sounded like a federal penitentiary. I said, no, it only feels like that 1 or 2 days a week. So we hired Siegel and Gale in L.A. We did a bunch of branding research that the comms people are very much involved with. And we shortened it to WaFed Bank. Why? Because we had to get bank in there, but we didn't want to throw away Washington Federal. WaFed is our ticker symbol on NASDAQ. We've been publicly traded for 4 years. It's all of our emails, and it's all of our social handles as well. So we did that, and sorry, that's how it looks at Husky Stadium. Boo. But it shows how well the branding shows up, because Washington Federal doesn't fit on anything and doesn't look good. Why the change? Then you explain that to people, and I'll blow through this real quickly. One thing I want to talk about. So we put this on the website. Sorry, this is probably hard to read from there. My bad. When you are creating something, especially with branding to customers and clients, it's not only the job of the communication team and the marketing team to talk about what you changed. For the customer's sake, you better tell them what has not changed. People get really pissed off when you move their cheese, or things are different or have changed. What does it mean? So just as important is to tell them what has not changed. All the products, the team, the bank, how it works. You need to make them feel secure, especially the bank, but with all companies. Why should they try? You've made all these changes. Who are you? All right? You could have an identity crisis. Make sure you communicate what has not changed, what is still solid and part of your story. So with that, I thank you guys for listening to me, a little bit long-winded here. And we are very, very proud to sponsor this symposium here. It's an amazing legacy here, and I feel completely honored to come and speak to students about it. But what's really important is I want to help you guys. So I would love to take whatever time. I think we've got 10 minutes or so left. I'd love to take some questions from you guys that you might have. Oh, let's see what else. I think I have. Who's the big Kraken fan in the house? Got to have a co-branded hat. Okay. All right, a couple of gifts. Questions on anything. My career, what works, doesn't work, ideas you have. Yes?
So you talked about, like, obviously going back and forth between different jobs, like working for Extra, working for Common Core. Like, how did you kind of deal with burnout through going, around all these different jobs?
I kept moving. That's how I didn't get burned out. No. No, it's a good question. I mean, but in all, it was a 32-year journalism career. Like Dean Pingleton said, thank you. I started when I was 5 or 6. That was a. There's burnout in every job, right? I mean, there just is. It can become mundane, and I think that's a challenge no matter what you go into. Is again, how to keep it fresh, how to keep it exciting, and that's why I say you better bring the fun and the creativity, or you are going to get stuck in a rut. And then you have to think about your own processes. Where do you want to take your career? What do you want it to be? Where do you want to go? What are your goals? All these things that you guys are well aware of, right? And then, boy, just keep that foot down on the ambition pedal, okay? Because as you guys all know, it's a very competitive world out there. Like you, I graduated with my comms degree from Michigan State. I had a little tape together. That's not enough to get a job in TV news. Take every internship opportunity you have, work every kind of campus program they have. Because then you've got a resume that goes to the top of the pile instead of with everybody, oh, I have a degree. They don't give a damn that you got a degree. Everyone they're talking to's got a degree in something, right? For these jobs you're going to be looking for. Something else, but good question. Yes, sir.
Do you guys have any plans to do any sort of similar commercials like you did with Step Drive with the Kraken?
Yes. Well, haven't you seen them? Yes, they're all over television. If you watch the Kraken games on Root Sports, yes. So same kind of concept, and I love this because I'm a hockey guy, right? I grew up in Detroit. I've been playing hockey since I was 4 years old, and now there's finally hockey, and so I get this game. So I said, all right, who can I frame with? So I had this idea in my head. Hockey's a pretty hard-hitting sport, right? There's a lot of checking that goes on. Checking. Banks have checking accounts. Okay. So I teamed up with the biggest dude on the ice, Jamie Alexiak. He's 6'7", 275, big tooth missing. I'm like, oh my God, this guy's right out of central casting for me. So I have developed a 2-year campaign where he's just pounding guys on the ice, and he skates to camera, and he holds up the Kraken debit card, and he says, checking doesn't have to hurt, like free checking at WaFd Bank. We made a whole fun campaign out of checking as he's just creaming guys, and he skates up to camera, smiles, and the tooth is missing. Again, a lot of fun. Look, with a bank, some of it's a stretch. You got to work with what you've got, right, and make that fun. So yeah, those ads are on, and I get comments on it all the time. It's fun. What else? Yes.
I was wondering how you got your team on board with your crazy ideas and if you utilize analytics and how you show them.
Well, I heard that I made sure when I hired him. This is where we're going with this. They're not going to be boring days. It's going to be a little chaotic, a little crazy. And this is on top of just everything else you have to do for running comms and marketing and investor relations for a bank. But when you have the fun stuff, it makes some of the mundane stuff that you have to do a lot more fun because we know that we're bringing the creativity, and we're going to go activate at this event, and we're going to go watch this commercial being shot, and we're going to be around fans and talk about what we do. So yeah. Yeah, you got to be on board. Yeah, like I said, if it's not fun and you're making a difference, then find something else to do. Life's too short. A career spans too long. You got to find something that works for you. Grace, okay.
So
my neighbor Grace. Back in Bellevue.
I know that a big part of your career has been asking good questions. What is your advice in asking good questions in the workforce?
Yep, and that is a good question because I kind of gave that example when I was hosting Extra, but I think, look, the best thing you do is just get informed. The more informed you are, the better you're going to ask questions, right? I mean, obviously, there's the news of the day. Oh, there's a flood over here in Pullman. Okay, so you're going to go to the city. What happened here? Why did this dike break? Why did this sewer main break? Okay, well, that's kind of the obvious, right? But maybe a little more research then about, well, how old are the pipes? And was there any construction nearby? And that, so that you can ask more intelligent questions. It's not brain science surgery, you guys. It really isn't. It's what's going on in the world around you. You just have to dig in a little bit, get some information so that those questions lead to more information so that you get more of the story. I think Dean Piquet did a great job talking about that last night, right? Being a journal, digging, asking stories, going deeper and deeper. Yes, sir.
So you've referenced ad agencies and production companies and so on. Do you have any, for these students, do you have staff that does the same thing?
Interesting point. So, depending on every company's different, we have outside vendors and we have staff. And it's my job to determine where do we need vendor help. We have a PR firm that we work with. We have a production company we work with. But I handle a lot of that, and so does my team. And I think depending on your team's skills, you can determine where do you need help and where can you keep it in-house. I would prefer to keep it all in-house because it's us managing and it's our team, but that's just not possible. We're a $20 billion bank in 8 states, 200 branches, and the marketing, comms, community relations, investor relations team is a total of 6 of us, me and 5 team members. I have a digital marketing manager. I have a comms marketing manager, Christy, who's here, who's going to be on the panel, who's a Murrow grad. I have 1 AV specialist and website coordinator. I have 1 marketing coordinator, and me. So you get asked to do a lot, right? But I think the more you can bring in-house that you can control, the better than relying on vendors. But vendors are certainly a big part of it. Anything else?
That's all the time we have for questions right now. I hate to cut it off. It's been a great session. Appreciate it, Brad, very much. Big round of applause for Brad and for WaFd Bank.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. All right. New sessions are starting in 5. So run to the restroom, get some fresh coffee, put on a happy face. Thank you so much. Really excited. We have another session, Ghost Herd podcast, I think, after that, and then a closing session starting at noon, a tribute to Bill Moreland. So thanks, everyone. Have a great symposium day.